Or how to go into your settings.
Okay. There we go.
Now I have to close this. All right, I'm recording, you're recording. Sweet. Wonderful. Let me just
praying for good Wi-Fi.
Yes, please. Alrighty. Wonderful. Well, I have my wonderful friend Suki on the line. She's in London. I'm in Mexico. Hello, Suki. Thank you for being here today.
Hi. Thank you. So good to see you.
Yeah. So I'm bringing Suki on because she's pretty awesome. Number one, she's a colon hydrotherapist, and as hopefully a lot of you know, I'm a huge fan of colonics and cleaning out your gut. She's a food coach, and she's also a really passionate photographer. We've done a few shoots together, actually, in Bali. I actually think we did 3 shoots. We did like a nudie shoot last summer.
We did 4 then.
My first
4 shoots.
Oh yeah, true. So she got to shoot me naked last year. Just a little side.
Just a little extra. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so Suki's super awesome. She's trained in nutrition and massage. She's doing a lot of really cool stuff, and I wanted to bring her on and talk about the gut and colonics and what's the right diet. And we're going to talk about a lot of stuff and see where we end up. Really, we don't really know. We'll see what happens. But I kind of want you, Suki, to introduce yourself and kind of share a little bit about how you ended up doing what you do today, doing hydrocolonic sessions, and being back in London, because we met in Bali several years ago and you lived there for quite a while. But just give us a little idea of your life and how does someone become a hydrocolonic therapist?
Well, I became a therapist by accident. There was no way I grew up thinking, this is what I want to do when I grow up.
As a 5-year-old.
I literally, Mummy, I want to do colonics. It wasn't on my radar. And in fact, I hadn't even heard of colonics until very shortly before I had my first one. I still had no intention of, I'd recently graduated from art school, so I was an ex-art student. I'd been reading health books for a long time, but didn't ever think I could be a therapist of any kind. I didn't think of myself as a healer or as particularly compassionate. I was quite shy, so even dealing with clients to begin with was quite difficult for me. But I met Gil Jacobs, who ended up teaching me, and as anyone who knows Gil will know that anything I'm going to say is pretty much the way that Gil lives and what he believes.
Is he well known in like the whole?
He's very well. He's like the godfather of the grandfather of colonics for us.
Oh.
So he's based in New York still. He is a genius. He's brilliant. And since me, he's trained many, many other people. So there's a whole kind of like generation of people who are spreading the good news. So I met him back in 97. I went for my first colonic, knocked on the door, Gil opened it and said, I want to train you. And I was like, what? I've come to have a colonic. And he's like, he winked and said, you've got the touch, we'll talk about it later.
No way.
And I'm like, who's this man? Like, what the fuck?
Well, you've never met him and he just immediately said, I'm going to train.
No, and I don't know, I think it was fortuitous, but for about 3 weeks prior to that, I'd been taking psyllium every day. I went to some place in London, got myself some psyllium, and read the instructions and started taking psyllium every day. So I got on the colonic table for the first time, and he's like, "Man, what have you been doing?" And I'm like, "I just followed the instructions." So of course, if you know anything about psyllium, you know how intense it can be as a cleansing thing. But also,
what is psyllium?
Psyllium's an Indian fiber which swells up to 16 times its own weight in water. So if you put it in water, you stir it into the water, let it swell, and you drink that, and it goes through you as a bolus, and it will help to hydrate, cleanse, and move things through you.
Got it.
If it works for you. No, it doesn't work for everybody, and you can get it in a fiber form or in a husk form. The powder, from psyllium powder, is much more intense, and the husk is much gentler and easier for constipation. Some people, it doesn't come out very easily, and it gets stuck. But thankfully, it's always worked quite well for me. So my first colonic was super epic because I had so much psyllium coming out, and he was like, what is going on? And I flew down the street after my first colonic. I wanted to stop everyone and go and have a colonic, it's going to change your life. It was really, really a turning point, turning point in my own body of, this is the potential of my body to feel this different.
Yeah.
And up until that point, I hadn't really had any dramatic physical experiences with exercise or with doing anything else particularly. So I knew I was onto something with that. So I ended up going back to New York, training with Gil, and the rest is history.
Wow. So wait, let's actually go back further than that. What actually brought you to the point where you started, started cleansing practices, and you actually started to sign up for a colonic session? What were, like, did you have any like physical issues or chronic illnesses?
Yeah, tons. But the colonic, actually, I just was curious. I didn't have it. I wasn't squeamish or shy. I was just like, here we go, let's do it. But I had grown up with really bad allergies, hay fever, asthma, bronchitis, annually, acne, all kind of basically inherited respiratory problems, period problems since I got my first period. None of which I could connect at the time to anything in particular, and the doctors don't really have any answers. They just gave medication or fobbed me off. And I remember when I was maybe 22, going to a doctor with what I thought was thrush, and asking about a diet, and she said, no, it's got nothing to do with it, and no, yogurt won't help you. And at the time, yogurt was the only probiotic anyone had ever heard of. But I ended up finding a book in a shop just around the corner from where I'm working now about Candida, and I read it, and suddenly it's going click, 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 click. So I was already vegetarian since I was 18. Shortly after I read this book, I might have already been vegan. Started playing around with my diet and went to see an acupuncturist who said, you need to stop drinking. And I was like, but I'm English. I'm in the pub 5 nights a week. They're like, this. How is that possible? And at that point, I was experiencing what they would now call IBS, but back then they hadn't invented the umbrella of IBS. So I'd be on the toilet 16 times a day, but my belly was out like I was 5 months pregnant, and my energy was low, and there was no solution. So I was having acupuncture. He was telling me to stop eating wheat, and what, and so prior to the first colonic, I'd been experimenting and reading. I'd always understood nutritional science and understood that if you put this with this, this happens. That there's a science in the body, there's a science outside the body, and you can tie the two together. And I'm sure I was a massive pain in the ass to all my friends, who I was that person who just wanted to beat everybody with information all the time. And as soon as I had colonics as a way to express that, I left my friends alone and just used the information of my clients and stopped giving unsolicited advice, which is, as everybody knows, is really tiresome. And so with colonics and changing my lifestyle and my diet, everything started to improve slowly.
Wow. And then how long did it take for you to see and feel like the proper results?
Pretty instant. When I stopped eating wheat and carbohydrates, well, not so much carbohydrates but flours, I felt considerably better. When I stopped eating eggs, my endometriosis cleared up. When I cleared fibroids through diet and energy work, and so I've been through many stages of and this is the next thing, and this is the next thing. Acne cleared up when I just went completely 100% raw food vegan. Despite having thousands of colonics by that point and long juice fasts and cleanses and liver flushes, I still had acne problems, but that cleared up when I went raw, and that was in London back in 2006. That for the first time in my life I had clear skin.
Wow.
Oh my God. So
Wow.
I've never been dogmatic about this is the one thing. I've always been very open to experiment and think, well, I want results. If I try this, what's going to happen? And if I try that, what's going to happen? And can I get away with that? Not so much. And this person, if you give 10 people the same diet, they will all have different colonics.
Yeah.
There is no one diet. Everyone I treated today had very different results, and I gave them very different information.
Which is so true.
It's amazing what you have to come up with for different people's situations and problems. So I've always been about the experiment rather than my poor mother. She's like, what diet are you on now? Well, I'm trying this because I want to see how that feels and how that works. Yes. And then I will use that for somebody else, that information for somebody else at some point. Yes. And it's never about following the rules so much as, and I'm older now than I was when I started, and I've changed climates considerably in the last few years, and it's summer. It's pretending to be summer right now, and I actually had some emotional resistance to stopping my winter diet, which I was really enjoying.
Oh,
yeah, when it warmed up, I was like, I don't want to stop my roasted vegetables. I'm really attached to this. Oh my God.
So how does your winter diet differ from your summer diet?
I was roasting a lot of broccoli, cauliflower, and eating lots of mashed sweet potato and olives and avocado. And I don't need so much fat now. It's summer. So now I'm having a lot more salads, more juices. I'm drinking green tea again a lot. I'm just eating less, I guess, and lighter.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
So back to the colonics, because I remember meeting you. I think it must have been maybe 2015 or 14 or something like that. And this was me just getting into the whole health thing and cleansing and detox. I did my first juicing cleanse. I think it must have been maybe February or March 2015 in Bali, and this was around the time I think I met you as well, a little bit before. And you're like, yeah, you do colonics. I was like, whoa. Someone who'd never been in touch with it. By that point, I had never had any experience with that. And then I had my first colonic session while I was doing the juice cleanse. And my first colonic session, not obviously, I don't know, but for me personally, it was a bit challenging. When you get used to, obviously someone sticking a pipe in your butt, and when it's like, and I'd never done enemas, is that the enemas? Yeah. Enemas. So I was really not in touch with anything down there. I wasn't really in touch with my gut, even though I'd had, gut issues since I was in my early 20s. And that, I find that so fascinating by now. So now, more than 3 years later, I'm super in touch with my gut. I go and get my colonics, very frequently. And it's just, I'm fascinated by the whole thing. I'm not gonna become a hydrocolonic therapist, but I think everything is super fascinating now, and I don't mind talking about poo and all these things, but it's so fascinating to me that as human beings, considering that our gut is like this amazing organ, and it's what we put in is what we get out, and just how disconnected we are, and so how do you think, you're doing the work trying to get people to be more connected with their gut, and I'm doing a little bit of my own work of spreading the word. But how can people lose this, when, so many people are grossed out by it? Like, what can we do? What can other people do to kind of get more in touch with their gut? That's kind of what I've been wondering, because people ask me, they're so ooh about it.
Well, it never stops being weird. You just get used to the weirdness. It's, and every day I'm looking down going, what am I doing? I'm getting really excited when something's having a massive release, and I'm whooping and hollering, and I'm like, this is just a really weird thing to do for a living. But it's so epic because it's so transformational, and you can see the shift in someone's face during the treatment or after the treatment. they've got color in their cheeks and their eyes are shiny and they're standing taller. And so I don't think it's so much that people need to, I would say start with enemas, because self-practice is really important. I'm never going to be pushing colonics over anything else. I'd say just do whatever it takes to take care of yourself on a regular basis. And it needs to be a regular basis. Whatever you do consistently is what works. You don't do something once a year or once every 5 years. You do things consistently, and then you see the results. Whether it's colonics or enemas or fasting or just doing some kind of detox, then you see the results. But I think the biggest thing that stops people really taking it seriously is thinking, and I remember this woman saying this to me, really sad, a long time ago. She said, "Oh, I'm fine down there." And she's got a glass of wine in one hand and a packet of crisps in the other. And she ended up having really big problems conceiving her children. And I think she's recently had a hysterectomy.
Man.
You were never fine down there.
No, we're not.
Because people don't understand that there's the osmosis that works between the uterus and the ovaries and your colon. Everything impacts it. You know, we're one system.
Yes.
And that what you're putting in you is going to affect your ability to conceive and have a healthy pregnancy, etc., etc. And if you're constipated and going to the toilet 3 times a week is constipated, that's not okay. And doctors will tell people that it's okay to just go 3 times a week. Those women will have hysterectomies, and it was avoidable. So just because everyone else is doing something that looks normal and that we've got used to doing as part of our cultural habits, whether it's alcohol or food, or lack of exercise or whatever it is, it doesn't mean, just because your body's surviving doesn't mean you're thriving. And doesn't mean you can't change something. And so it's that mindset of, I'm fine, or I've been vegetarian this long, I'm going to be okay. Or you know, if someone is truly thriving, awesome, just keep thriving, keep doing what you're doing. But these days that's uncommon, sadly.
It's rare. I mean, we don't know how sick we are or how what a low frequency our body is performing until we are healthy, sort of thing. You know, I didn't know. So before I did my first juice cleanse, I didn't know how much potential energy I had in my body until I did the juice cleanse. And then I did the juice cleanse, and I had my first 3 or 4 colonic session in that week. And I was like, oh my God. I was freaking out, because I was like, I got all this energy. Where's this coming from? I was, 30 years old or something. And I'd never known that this was in my body, that this was actually my energetic potential.
Yeah.
And I think that's with so many people, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So if someone wanted to get started with enemas, how would they go about that?
They'd order an enema bag, watch some YouTube videos. So some really funny videos out there of how to do an enema. Take some quiet time, be comfortable, be warm, don't be in a hurry, and try one at home.
Have some coconut oil maybe ready, and then stick it in.
Yeah, I mean, and the important thing is to be relaxed and not to be in a hurry. To not be worrying about someone walking in on you, to have a book, or just to chill,
Yeah, and
not think, oh, I'm doing it wrong, because there really isn't no wrong. You just keep doing it. And I'm not really good at enemas, but I still do them. I mean, my body's really wired for colonics now, not so much enemas, but they're still beneficial regardless.
Can you maybe, now that we're talking about the both, what are the benefits of either? Like, why is one better than the other, or what are the?
So an enema is self-administered at home. It's generally a 2-liter bag, depending on which country you're in. We happen to have really good enema bags in England. One thing we do really well. And you hang up the bag on the wall on a hook or on a door handle or somewhere that's about 3 or 4 foot above you. You'd lie down on the floor and you'd stick a small pipe up your bottom, take in water, take in as much as you can, hold it for as long as you can, and then jump on the loo, toilet, release, and then repeat if necessary. I do know some people who can take in a whole bag, hold it for 15, 20 minutes, let go in one go. I've never been able to do that. I don't predict that ever happening. So I just keep going until I've got through 2 to 4 liters of water. And then you feel at some point during that, you'll feel a shift, or you'll smell something that feels really rank, and then you know that you've got the poison out. And with that poison, you feel a clarity in your face, or your brain clears, or there's some kind of other side effect.
Do you move around when you do enemas as you're holding the water in?
No, I just lie there.
You lie there?
I mean, I might do headstands, or not headstands, shoulder stands or something.
Yeah.
But I generally
get the water moving a little bit. You know Hillary in Thailand?
Hillary Hit, yeah.
Yeah. So I've done a few retreats with her, and she taught me how to do enemas, actually. She also recommends doing, she calls it yoga colonics or something. So she came up with like all these yoga poses, asanas that you can do while you're doing the enema. So to get the water moving and stuff like that.
Well, I tend to actually, and it's the same as I do within colonics, I tend to massage and breathe into the space I'm breathing into. So a large part of my colonics that I give to people is getting them to breathe in certain places in their bodies to unlock tension and stress. And so there's a big relationship between stress and emotions and the belly.
Yeah.
So
totally.
I'm not really jumping around so much as breathing and massaging. I know I have one spot on my body I can just do my whole colonic from pretty much. So I'm breathing into that and, trying to ease that out.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
cool.
I mean, people can turn on to either side and get the water moving.
And then with the colonics, can you just give us a little intro to that?
Well, I practice gravity colonics, which is a 5-gallon tank that's on the wall, and the water it's very simple. The water comes down through a small tube into the speculum, which is in the bottom, and then straight out. There's another tube comes straight out into the waste pipe. The gravity system, I understand, was invented by the Germans, and then the Americans ran with it, as often happens. And then the machine colonics, which are quite different, and I don't practice, I think was an American invention, and is, in my mind, not as effective and not as successful.
Oh, so there's different like hydrocolonic machines.
Yeah, so there's the gravity, which is real old school, basic, simple tank and tubes and very simple setup. And then the machines involve electricity and lights and knobs and dials. And once you've bought a machine, you're tied in to that company to get their products from them.
Oh, got it.
And then the Australians invented a thing called the Libby system. I think it's the Libby, where it's kind of like a giant purpose-built plastic bed which you lie on, and you kind of poo down a hole into
I heard about that as well.
Yeah, it's kind of splashy. Again, any of them, if you know what you're doing and you know how to breathe, they're all going to work. But I think the gravity gets the better and quicker results.
And you as water. Right, yeah, right. And then you as a therapist, do you do massages? Do you massage the
belly,
the stomach? Yeah, because not everybody does. Because I just came down here from California, and I had a few sessions in LA, and I'm used to the colonic sessions in Bali where they go all in, or like in Thailand as well. It's like and so that's what I was used to. And then she just kind of tickled a little bit, and then she came with one of those massage.
The vibrating things.
Yeah, I don't even know how to call it. Like a big vibrator.
Vibrating pad or something.
Yeah, it was just like this long.
Yeah.
Whatever. And she used that a little bit on my stomach and on my legs, and that's all she did. And I was a little bit confused. I was like, when's the massage going down? And I mean, it was still good sessions and everything, but I felt like the massage really, really helps to support moving whatever's in there. Huh?
Yeah. Well, there's reflex spots on the legs. So there's certain spaces in the thighs that if someone's having a hard time to release, you can squeeze the spaces in your thighs, and it can help to release.
Right.
I've never used a vibrating pad. I'm sure they're great.
I feel like.
But I would say that if you know that something works for you, you can take charge of your own colonic and say, "Do you mind if I massage myself?" And just
true.
I need to do this, and you can breathe into your own, check your own breathing, and do it yourself.
Interesting. Yeah, I think they might have also some. They have different regulations, I think, also in the States. So, for example, you have to put the pipe in yourself. Like she has her hand on it too, but you have to basically be the one putting it in, which is something. Yeah, that's like a regulation or something that they have that I never heard of before.
I just realized today that I have a putting the pipe in face that I pull when I'm doing it every time. I'm going to end up with. I hope the wind doesn't change. And no one gets to see it, thankfully, because it's probably not good.
A very private face. But I just want to say for everyone who is interested in trying it out is that it all sounds maybe a little bit daunting and whatever, but I remember my very first session so vividly. And it really turned out to be not as bad as I thought it would be. It's not painful. I mean, there are some moments maybe as you're releasing some really old stuff. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you know.
Well, it's not so much that it's painful. It's really weird to poo when you're lying down on a table in front of somebody. That's weird. So you have to be willing to relax and let go. And some people do worry about making a mess on the table. It so rarely happens. It's really not worth worrying about, really. I can only think of 2 messy colonics ever that I've had to deal with. And they were very unique diets and body types. It's really not common. And secondly, it doesn't ever really feel any worse than that feeling you get when you need to poo. So if you think that this is really just the same feeling, but normally I'm in charge because I'm either on the loo already or I'm on the way there, it's the same feeling of that I need to go feeling, or that feeling of it's like a slight nausea that waves up you as you're going, and then once you've gone, you're like, oh, that was a good one. It's the same feeling. It's just that you're having more of them during this session, right?
Yeah, it does feel like a little bit like you have diarrhea and you kind of have to run to the toilet, but you don't because you're lying there and it's just coming out.
Yeah, and you've got gas bubbling out and stuff's moving and you're like, oh, I had no idea this was so active in here.
Yeah, true.
And there's so much stuff inside, really, because the colon is full, always.
Unbelievable. I remember, I mean, each time I did the water fast with Hillary in Thailand, you don't eat for a whole week. I mean, it's all just liquids and it's not juices. It's just coconut water and water. And I would always have one proper hydroclonic session at the end with this Thai guy in the back of this massage place, like a bit sketchy, but he's the man. And then after a whole week of not eating and end of doing enemas every morning, coffee enemas, I still had so much stuff coming out after a week. I couldn't, like, every time I was just like, this is impossible. How is there still so much stuff in my gut,
Yeah.
Like what we carry around. And like also, I mean, some of the stuff, right, has been there for years and years.
Yeah.
And craziness.
But just the minute, even after an epic colonic where you've had 6 foot's worth of solid poo coming out, the minute you're leaving the building, it's filling up again. It's really not empty for very long because the body doesn't stop. All your organs are processing constantly. Dead blood cells, blood gases are a big thing. Everything is continuing all the time. The colon is just trying to keep up.
Yeah, it's amazing how that all works. Really, I just wish we would learn so much more about our colon and how that all works in school, but we don't. So here's people like you doing.
That's changing now, thankfully. The big news in the last month was that Parkinson's science has now proved that Parkinson's is connected to the colon. So Parkinson's disease begins in the colon, and it's due to long-term constipation. So now that that's become a fact, people might start taking colon health more seriously. And that doesn't involve just taking a probiotic. That means cleansing and changing the diet and taking serious steps to prevent degenerative diseases.
Well, I mean, considering the state my gut was in the last couple of years, and also the really intense, a lot of depressive phases that I've gone through in and out ever since I started healing my gut and doing a few other things. But man, I haven't had a whole lot of depression since. And like even just the brain gut connection, right, is full on. and so many people taking antidepressants rather than, you know, cleaning out their gut and cleaning up their diet. And I don't know, man, it's just, I can't get my head around it.
Yeah.
Just how little aware people are still. So while we're talking about that, so why, you know, we kind of touched on it, I guess, but what are the real benefits of doing these hydrocolonic sessions? Why are they so damn awesome? Apart from the fact that when you do them and you're done and you walk away, you're like, oh my goodness, I feel amazing. Yeah, it's like that.
Why are they so amazing?
Yeah. So what sort of conditions that people have, or how, you know, what exactly are they doing to?
Well, at any one point, a colon can contain putrefaction and fermentation. Fermentation is sugars and alcohol. Putrefaction is meat rotting. Those two things rotting individually and together create gases. The blood gases build up. The gases create airlocks. Nothing can move through those airlocks. So your body gets your belly gets bigger and bigger, and you're like, everyone knows what it feels like to feel bloated. Mm-hmm. When those two elements, this is just very simple. When those two things meet, it creates havoc, and it's very difficult to feel normal or to have a clear brain, to think clearly, to stay healthy, because that creates cravings. Whatever's in you, what is like a magnet wanting more of the same. And it kills me. There's a few people I follow on Instagram who are sober. They've been alcohol free for however long, but they eat candy all the time. And I'm watching going, that is fermenting inside you. You think you're not drinking, but actually you've got a factory going on in there creating alcohol because you're having so much sugar. It's a great story of a woman in Utah who was raised Mormon and had never drunk in her life and got arrested for drunk driving because she ate so much candy that her body was creating alcohol.
Wow.
So whereas the person next to her can eat the same amount of candy and not be creating alcohol. You know, it's so individual. So the things that rot inside us create disease, basically, and they back up into our systems. They store it throughout the body, and the body will at all times do its best to keep us safe, to protect the most important organs, which is going to be the heart, the lungs, and deposit where it's safer to deposit, which will be your belly, your arse, or your thighs, or then will be between your lesser organs. And over time, they calcify and they will congeal. Blood flow stops. Oxygen doesn't reach those places, and those places will die and become cancerous, simply.
Yep, that's a pretty good simple.
Like or metals and meat. So they found in Alzheimer's autopsies proteins in the brain.
Wow.
Meat proteins in the brain.
Holy shit.
That people don't understand the connection with how everything is circulating. So by keeping all of that out, your body has a chance to, basically we're overtaxing or expecting too much from our systems in terms of natural elimination and self-cleaning. We can't keep up because we're walking on concrete and we're breathing polluted air and we're surrounded by electricity and, you know, things that nature didn't really equip us for yet. We haven't adapted yet. People think we've adapted for it, but we haven't. Our bodies haven't changed in millions of years. So depending on where you think we came from. So this is just one thing to do to
help detoxify the body.
To stay sane, yeah.
And to stay sane.
Yeah.
How often do you recommend that people do colonic sessions? Or how often do you do them?
Well, I was having a conversation with my best friend about this, and she was saying, oh, honey, I can't have colonics because I'm not eating right. I'm like, but that's exactly why you need to be having colonics, because you're not eating right. Because colonics will help you to get back on track, but also you can't expect your body to be dealing with your not right diet better than it would deal with your more cleansing diet. So I got all kind of passionate about colonics, and I'm like, you know what, this is it. This is how it is. One colonic a month for life, no matter what you eat. Forever.
All right. That would be a good.
That would be
sort of frequency.
Awesome.
The perfect frequency.
Oh my God. I mean, I would, because it's amazing to cleanse once a year and to have several colonics and do a fast or whatever you want to do as your annual upkeep. But the more regular ones, I would say, are more beneficial.
I mean, if you think about it, you know, we go and get our hair cut, we go and get pedicures, we go and get massages. Like, you might as well just do a monthly colonic session, you know,
right?
get that booked in.
Exactly. You have your osteopathy, and you know, I think having the other body work is really important as well to tie in together. So if you can combine massage and colonics, osteopathy and colonics, network chiropractic, whatever your chosen modality, along with exercise and your wax and your haircut, like you take care of your car, you know, like you have other important things serviced. I get my camera cleaned. I need to clean my body at the same time, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I fully agree. And also for the ones that might not be able to maybe afford a monthly hydrocolonic session, but like we mentioned earlier, that, you know, enemas are a great way to get started. And, you know,
but you
so
could
that's
also
awesome.
set up a colonic unit in your own house, a Kalima board, which is awesome. Though once you bought a Kalima board, it looks like a small surfboard. It's probably $300. You've got that for life. Your whole family can use one Kalima board. You know, it's not over time. That's very affordable.
Cool. Yeah, I'll put all of this information into the show notes so people can go and research more. But that's a really good idea. You can actually build your own sort of like colonic station.
Yeah, no, and we all help people build colonics. I mean, if I've got a client who's really into colonics, I'm like, you can do this at home. I'll teach you how to treat yourself. You can do this at home. You know,
awesome.
We'll teach your whole family. You can all treat yourselves.
Oh wow! So you teach that? Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
Sure.
Cool.
I don't want people to be dependent on me. I want everyone to be able to take care of themselves, however they best see fit.
Yeah,
you know,
and empower them.
Yeah.
So also, because you touched on it, and also to shift gears a little bit, because like you said, it's not enough to just go and get your monthly colonic session or do an IMAS or whatever, and while you have a shitty diet. Like, there's no point in doing all that or taking all the pills while whatever you put in your body is still crap and processed food and lots of meat and whatever. So what's, like, if people want to start sort of transitioning, or maybe they want to transition to a veggie or vegan diet, how could they start? And what do you think about those that are like, oh, I'm just drinking a detox tea and taking these detox tablets?
Don't get me started on the detox teas. Oh my God. There's this range of detox teas in the shops here for £20 for a box.
Wow.
And there's a new one called Skinny Coffee. And I'm like, are you serious?
Oh my goodness.
The best thing is to have a fresh vegetable juice and a salad every day. That's it. The more good stuff you bring in, the less space there is for the bad stuff. The bigger your juice, the bigger your salad, the less space there is for the density. And so what you're doing by consuming a fresh green salad is layering your stomach, providing enzymes, and using that food as a colon broom to help sweep through. So it's changing the ratios of the food. If people are having a large plate of carbohydrates or proteins and fats and a side salad, like have a large salad and have a handful of something dense. Change the ratio of your diet, and then your body starts to feel really good, and you kind of know that that's the way you want to
go. What if people say, oh, I can't eat raw food too much, I can't have too much salad because I get a stomach ache? You know these people?
Yeah, I know those people. They're generally having the wrong kind of salads. Like, not everything suits everybody. I'm going to bloat on some things. I don't like to have fruit in my salads or dried fruit so much. And some people think that a salad involves cold pasta and chicken. That's not a salad. That's a cold pasta chicken dish. So let's be clear. I'm talking about, like, when I eat romaine, I'm going to eat the whole lettuce.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat half a bag of spinach. I'm going to eat some rocket. I'm going to eat leafy greens. I do like my fats quite a lot, so I'm going to make so everything's going to taste good. I like to eat tahini, and so I'm not depriving myself of would suggest anyone deprive themselves of pleasure and sensation and taste and the experience of eating. It's like, what do your taste buds like? How do you feel satisfied? how do you make a salad that feels and tastes incredible?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a big fan of like, I don't know how you want to call them, but just like bowls or these Buddha bowls or something, where it's a nice mix of, I do like a bit of grain, like brown rice, maybe some quinoa, and then having, you know, my spinach or my arugula, whatever, and a few raw veggies in there, and then also maybe a couple of not necessarily cooked veggies. Like I don't want them to be dead. Like that's the thing, right? I do want them to be
Crunchy.
alive, yeah. But at the same time, I'm also still healing my gut from IBS and SIBO and everything. So I need to be a little bit careful. I can't eat everything super raw, but you know, just like put it in a pan a little bit of olive oil, just to, you know, help with digesting it in my gut, and then having a nice mix of raw veggies and a little bit of grains, and then a little bit of not fried, but how do you call them, like roasted or just, yeah. And that works really well for me, and just having a mix like that really helps. And so when people,
there's a difference between that's all health, that's all awesome food. There's a people either think that raw food is just eating carrot sticks and chopped up tomatoes, which, you know, shoot me now, that's not going to happen, or they're going out and eating raw desserts, which is these days is better, but can be dried fruits and nuts, and they're like a gut bomb, not ideal. So you're better off having a steamed sweet potato than having a raw dessert.
Yeah,
you know,
true.
So
that.
if you're cleansing too fast and you're having too much raw food, then I would always go with a steamed sweet potato or squash to slow it down a little bit.
Steamed is what I was looking for. Yeah.
So I always, you know, I never run out of steamed sweet potatoes these days. Always have them in the fridge.
Oh man, yeah, sweet potato, like sweet potato, carrot, coconut, ginger soup. That's really good.
So it's more a focus on clean plant-based foods rather than a label of what your diet is.
Exactly, and we talked about this briefly before our interview, is that you know, how a lot of people that are transitioning from being carnivores to being vegetarian or vegan, and then just because you say eating vegan doesn't mean anything in terms of the level of healthy stuff that you're eating, right? And so a lot of people eat a lot of seitan, or
or and in London right now it's cupcakes. So what
vegan cupcakes, because they're healthy.
Yeah. So what people are doing is they're getting stuck in the transition phase and they're not coming out of it, because it's probably slightly better than it was what they were eating before. Or psychologically they think they deserve a treat because they're now vegan, and they think because they gave up Haagen-Dazs they need a vegan cupcake. Maybe not, because if it's still got refined sugar in it, just because it's vegan doesn't mean your body knows it any different, so it doesn't process it any differently. So I went to a vegan festival recently and I was absolutely horrified by what I saw there. It was just tables laden with sugary filled cookies, like giant cookies this big, filled with cream, vegan cream, and brownies and muffins and pies and cakes and pastries, and going, Jesus, and it's all wheat. It's like these are still grains. So as any treat, it's a treat, not something to get stuck on. And eating replacement foods is not the end objective. It's a transition.
What do you think about seitan? People don't even know what it is.
I think it's evil.
It tastes good,
but I've never liked it. I've never got into it. I don't know. We have so much access to so many incredible foods now, you know, that we didn't have when I first started. When I went gluten-free, there was no replacement food. I just stopped eating gluten, and I ate hummus and carrot sticks for 2 years, kind of thing. And now there's so many incredible options. I mean, we didn't have chia seeds back then, or quinoa, or I've just discovered snow fungus. You know, I'm like, okay, what can I do with this?
What is snow fungus?
It's a Chinese mushroom. So I was talking to a client about foods and how I missed noodles and making a sauce to put a noodle. And she said, you need to try snow fungus. It's basically comes as a dried white mushroom. You soak it, it's stunning, and then you cook it briefly, and then you add a sauce and it absorbs it like it's rice noodles.
Oh wow.
But without the density of carbohydrates. But it's meant to be good for your skin, it's good for your lungs, it's one of these medicinal foods. Super cheap in Chinatown.
Hmm.
Where has this been all my life?
I know so many amazing things around these days, but like you were saying, even just because it's vegan, just because there's no egg in it or butter in it or whatever dairy, doesn't make it any better, especially when it's full of gluten and sugar. And even if it's vegan and gluten free, then they put in extra amounts of sugar, I feel like. And then like, because I just spent 3 months in California, and there are now more and more options that are vegan, gluten free, and sugar free. It's
Wow.
happening. I
Wow.
know it's a lot, but in the end, it's I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, so obviously being
But that,
vegan.
but if half of the ingredients in that are then going to be corn,
Exactly. So
and what are the oils? It's like I applaud the inventiveness of these chefs, and what people are creating is really exciting. But
Mm, yeah, and
you
people
know,
don't look behind that, right? They don't really ask, like, so what's actually in it, or
and don't get me wrong, I want to try all this stuff because I'm excited to try things, but it's also not part of my daily diet. It's not.
Yeah.
I eat much more simply than that now.
Yeah. Well, I used to be super sugar addicted, and I think getting off of sugar is one of the hardest things ever. And why is it so hard?
It's the drug,
It's the drug.
the
Yeah.
drug. But also, if it's in your body, you want more of it.
Mm.
I mean, I remember going into work one day. This is years ago, and I used to work in a do colonics with a storage room for the shop behind my room, and there was a chocolate store back there. There was literally thousands of bars of chocolate, and I'd be sitting there giving a colonic, just like going, oh, I want to crawl through that wall and grab a bar, and then I'd give myself a colonic, and 3 days later go, oh yeah, that really strong craving I had, it just went,
Oh.
completely gone because I'd removed it from my cells.
Well, I think in my case, it was a mix of just general lifelong addiction to it, habit, and, I had parasites. I had some candida. Like, I had everything that loves sugar in my gut alive, and I didn't know it. And yeah, man, I had a really epic colonic session in Bali before I left in January. Do you know Betty? She's in Seminyak.
No.
She's a really good hydroclinic therapist, and
Oh, good.
I went in there with. She's been doing she's from Java, but she's been doing colonics for like 20 years or something. And I'm like, how, like, amazing. And so I went to her because I've been on my protocol to heal my IBS and SIBO, and man, and I had some stomach pain just before I got on the plane the day before, and so I went, and then man, we had all this dead parasites coming out. It was amazing. That was amazing. And since then, I feel like ever since seeing my gut, I got less sugar cravings. I still really like it, but I feel like I got it under control now. I try to keep my diet like 80-90% really awesome, and then obviously there's the occasional fuck up and whatever. But as clean and plant. I mean, I'm fully plant based and everything, but as clean as I try to keep it every day. I have I don't want to call them cheat days, but I know exactly what I'm doing when I'm getting a vegan, non-gluten-free cake with a lot of sugar in it. And usually I also pay for it afterwards.
Yeah. That's pretty much guaranteed.
It's pretty much guaranteed. Brain fog, lots of energy, all of that. And I think
anytime I hear myself thinking, I can get away with that, like, no, you can't. Just don't.
Just don't. Yeah, and I think also, I guess the older we get and the more connected we are to our bodies, whatever, through meditation and yoga and just generally more connected to ourselves, we become more sensitive, and then we just don't want to give it shit anymore. Like, I just don't want to. Like, I really like feeling awesome and having a lot of energy every day, right?
Yeah.
Like having nice skin and stuff like that. I think that's pretty cool. Wonderful. So maybe just to kind of scratch on this for a little bit before we kind of finish up, is that I get this question asked a lot. So how, I want to do a fast, I want to detox, how do I start? And like we just mentioned, detox teas are not the way to go. But what's a good way that people can do a fast or a detox at home? Or is it necessary to consult with a professional, maybe go on a retreat? Or what do you suggest?
Yeah, if you can go on a retreat, do it. If you can do it with a friend, whether it's at home or just someone who you can check in with every day, and do it, because it makes so much difference if you have someone to share that experience with. If it's your first time, particularly. I mean, and all the deepest retreats and fasts I've done have been with friends. One time, the few of us just went out to my mum and dad's house when they were away, and we just juice fasted for 5 days, and we all came away going, that was the most profound experience we've had yet, because we had our own schedule. We juiced when we wanted to. We went to the market and got trays of produce, and we were doing yoga to rock music, and it was like this. We slept when we wanted to sleep. There was no schedule or program. But if you're in an environment where you're supported and you're nurtured and people are teaching you good information, that's ideal. If not, there's probably online groups you can join, people doing them as well. If it's the first time, there's a lot of new stuff, and your body's going to go through new stuff, and you're going to panic and think you're dying because you're hungry. You're like, I'm hungry. I don't know how to get through this the next hour. This is intense.
How do you get through
and
it?
Your blood sugar might crash. I drink more juice. I drink enough juice so that I feel satiated for that, however long that takes, which may mean that I'm fine for the next 5 or 6 hours. But I don't skimp on the juice.
Yeah, I remember my first juice fast in Bali. I drank a whole lot of juice, and I was surprised that I actually never really properly felt hungry. It wasn't the feeling of hungriness. It was more that my stomach was so used to having stuff in there that was hard to digest, and was busy doing that and working on that. And now it wasn't. And that was a feeling to get used to. I felt like.
You can get emotional and cranky and obsessed with foods. Like one day you're obsessing about one thing, the next day it's the next thing, and when you finish the fast, you forget about them completely because you've moved through that. But it's what's coming out in your cells.
Yeah. So generally, you recommend if someone wants to do a detox or fast, like do a proper a green juice fast, not fruit but veggies.
Well, no, actually, for someone's first time, incorporating fruit would help. Not tons of fruit, but half an apple, half a pear. It needs to taste good for people to want to stick with it, unless they're really, really disciplined. And just try it. You don't need to start off and jump into a 7-day program. Just try 1 day, try 2 days.
Well, I mean, there's now also, I think, in many, many countries, the option, like companies that supply you with fresh juices every day, especially in like the bigger cities. I know that's happening in Germany as well now. In places like Bali or Thailand or whatever, it's super easy because they bring it to your doorstep and put it in your fridge every day, and it's very affordable. Or you do it yourself, no? Just get a juicer.
Yeah, I'd say to everyone, get a juicer. Have a juicer, no excuses. Juice every day, regardless.
Yeah, I'd try to get my green juice in every day, at least one.
Yeah,
just because it's awesome. Awesome. So, well, Suki. So you offer online coaching. Obviously, you do how to colonics sessions. You're in London. So if anyone's listening and is in London or in the area, go and see Suki in person live. And then you also do online sessions. Is that correct? What do you help people with?
I help people with whatever they need, pretty much. Food coaching, health coaching. In person, I do kitchen clearing, healthy shopping, talking them through. It's so individualized, the information people absorb and what they need to have repeated, and what makes sense to some people and not to others. So it's a very customized process generally. I have done programs where I go into people's homes and fast with them. I'll put them through a 5 or 7 day juice fast, but I'm not doing that at the moment. But I could help them set up to do that. Kind of make a program for them for that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. And then also, if people want to take advantage of your photography skills, which they should, Suki is an amazing photographer. Also, actually, how does that work for you? Because you're so passionate about these two things, about colonics and, you know, the colon and photography, and how do you bring those two together in your life?
I don't feel like I'm doing it very successfully, honestly. They're two very different parts of my brain, and neither part ever stops. And I feel like when I'm doing too much photography, my business slips, my colonic business slips. And then when I'm focusing on health, I'm really mentally active and I love it. And I'm writing and researching, and I never stop listening to podcasts. I'm always kind of trying to keep up to date with whatever's happening, whatever's going on out there. And then I'm sharing that information with people, which feels like this is here what I'm meant to be doing. But then the creativity also never stops. So I have no idea how to get the balance right, honestly. I'm fucking up every day.
I love it though, how, you know, you have these two callings and you somehow try to make it.
I have these two Instagram accounts and I'm posting completely different things on both of them. Like, I'm a split personality. This is crazy.
Oh gosh, I can imagine. Yeah, it's challenging.
Like today I was in a photography shop that had this most incredible collection of stuff, and then I'm coming home and cooking and taking photographs of food. And like, this sums up my day.
I think it's awesome. So where can people find you, Suki, online?
Thecolonwhisperer.com.
Thecolonwhisperer.com. And Instagram? Yeah. What's the best way to
The Colon Whisperer.
Also?
Yeah.
And what about your photography?
SukiZoe.com and Suki Zoe.
Okay, cool. I'll put all the links in the show notes, and
thank you.
Go and get in touch with Suki. And yeah, thank you so much for this. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks for your time, and I hope I'll see you again soon, Suki.
Yay.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Cool. We're